we're all about making sure kids are in the right fit, both from a personality, from an academic standpoint, and then lastly, from a hockey standpoint. So
the Northeast Generals are heading into their 10th season in the North American Hockey League, and Bryan Erikson dives into detail on what it means to see the league grow during his time as the head coach of the Generals. On this installation of NAHL, he shares more on what is ahead for the organization and how important the pillars of development and advancement are for the Generals organization.
Summer is always a challenging time. It looks at, people look at it like our vacation, but it's probably our busiest time of the year. And I think when you have a lack of success like we did last year, it puts a little bit more pressure on the off season, making sure you're identifying the right players, you're identifying the right, types of people. You're looking at yourself, what you could have done better and what you want to do better this year to make sure that you're off to a better start and continuing to develop and grow. So it's been a busy summer. It's really fun. Obviously I'm back on the ice in a couple of days. So I'm really looking forward to that and kicking it off. But it's been a really fun summer with all the events that the NA has. And that's been a really fun experience. And now we're just ready to drop the puck.
As you reflect on last season's performance, I know you said that it wasn't the performance that you guys were hoping for as an organization, but what are those lessons that you're learning as a head coach as you head into into this next season?
Yeah. And so, for us last year, I don't know, what the expectations were at the beginning of the year, but we didn't meet them, and I didn't meet my expectations as a coach. And I don't believe that the players, met the expectations that they had for themselves and for each other. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. But what ultimately comes down to is that last year was an incredibly successful year. We got every kid to college. We got every kid to, we have numerous Division I commitments. We have, not a kid that plays for us ever doesn't get a commitment, right? So at the end of the day, yes, you get focused a little bit on standings, but ultimately this league is about the development of the players as people and as players. And we did our job as far as getting kids committed, as far as moving kids up a ladder, getting kids to the Division I. And we got better, just because our team didn't necessarily have as much success as we wanted on the ice. And listen, very short of what the standards and the expectations are here in the Northeast, and we're going to get back to that. And the way we're going to get back to that is continue to do some of the stuff that we did really well last year. But we're going to choose, kids that are ready to work, kids that are ready to, show up. And if we're not going to win that night, we want to make sure that that team knows they played us and they know that they're in for a long time every time they play us. And that's ultimately what our goal is to start the year.
While talking about those commitments, your team featured 11 athletes securing NCAA commitments on that last season's roster. How important is it to not only have that development and advancement to the next level, but for those athletes to have those opportunities?
Yeah, I think that's why hopefully most coaches get into hockey. For me, it's always been about the players. It's not about me. It's not about my staff. It's about the kids and it's about their development. And, at the end of the day, we want them to be better hockey players than when they came in. We want them to be better people than when they came in. And we want them to go into a college, that, 11 commitments is a great number. And, that's something that we're incredibly proud of. But what we're more proud of is we feel, and we think we've done this historically, we've put kids in really good situations to have success at the next level. Getting a logo next to the name is great, but if you're getting a logo and the kid isn't going to have success, then you've really done a disservice. So, just chasing the logo is tough, and it's hard to teach kids not to. And for us, we're all about making sure kids are in the right fit, both from a personality, from an academic standpoint, and then lastly, from a hockey standpoint. So the 11 commits are huge. We expect to pass that number. We had a good amount of Division I commits last year, a good amount of Division III commits. We want just kids at the right level, and we're really excited to continue to build on that. The NA is the best commitment league in the world, and we're glad to be a part of that. 11 is our number, and we're hoping to make sure that increases as the years go on.
Of course, and looking at the season ahead and also reflecting on your time being a head coach of the Generals and being a part of the North American Hockey League, what drives you as a coach?
Drives me, I think, hopefully the same thing that drives the players is I'm always looking to get better. I want to get to the rink every single day and improve. And, I don't want to be the coach that thinks he has all the answers, especially when we didn't have success last year. But I also want kids to understand that, if I'm asking them to come in and work hard and be there long hours and really dedicate themselves, then I need to do that first. I got to be the first one to set that example. And then my staff, which is unbelievable, needs to also do that. So our number one focus as a staff wasn't to go, okay, we didn't have the success we wanted last year, let's get rid of the players. Our approach was, we didn't have the success we wanted last year. What can we do as coaches to put the kids in a better position to have success on the ice? And I think the answer is getting more like-minded kids, getting more kids that, can put the ego behind and really focus on, the task at hand, which is improvement. And then along that, you're mixing in wins and you're mixing on getting better as a team. And, our goal always every year is to kind of figure stuff out up until Christmas. Hopefully you're getting better and better and better. And then you're playing your best hockey after Christmas as you get into the playoffs. And, we're really looking forward to that. And, I think from a coaching standpoint, the number one thing is getting off to the start, setting the tone at training camp, getting in there with kids with the expectations, and really understanding. And that's what drives me. I mean, what drives the whole staff is getting kids to the next level, making sure kids are safe and having a good experience often on the ice. And then ultimately as a team that we're improving. And I think our jobs as coaches or, anyone in this league, their job is to support the players. It's a players league. Mm-hmm. And, we've got some really good kids. I mean, I've said a couple times now that we didn't have the success we wanted last year, although I had an unbelievable experience coaching these kids. They were a great group of kids. We had fun every day we came to the rink, and we had a good experience. We just want to make sure that we're growing as an organization every year.
Of course. And talking about the players, what makes the athletes who play in the North American Hockey League a little bit different than any other junior league out there?
I think the kids that come to us know that it's a little bit more of a lunch pail league. And what I mean by that is, you're going to win games or make your commitment by battling in the corners and by physical hockey, and so the NA has kids that are a little bit more, bought into their roles. They can play on a first line, they can play on a fourth line, they can play on a third line or a second line and really be contributors. So for us, getting those kids that come in, they have maybe a chip on their shoulder that they're not already committed. Maybe they have an expectation for themselves. And as long as they come in and they work extremely, extremely hard and listen and pay attention to detail, they're going to have success. And so the kids that we get from a North American Hockey League standpoint are typically kids that, we call them hockey players and kids that like to play hockey. We're interested in hockey players, which are kids that eat right, sleep right, behave right, away from the rink. And those are the kids we get from the NA. And I think you see that with the amount of commitments we get each year, not just the generals, the league by itself. There's an expectation of the type of kid and the quality of player you're going to get if you take a North American Hockey League player, which is unreal. And for us, that just shows that, people are looking at our league and they already know how good the league is. And they already know that, majority of these teams in this league aren't going to keep kids that aren't great kids and can't have success at the next level. So, we're getting kids that, have a chip on the shoulder, are ready to work, and that are going to have success, both on and off the ice at the next level.
Of course, and the Generals are heading into their 10th year in the North American Hockey League. How have you seen this league grow during that time period?
Well, it's great. I mean, 10 years, we're really excited as an ownership group, to have been in this incredible league for 10 years. When we came in, we were the first team in New England. We were the fifth team in the East Division. We're sitting here 10 years later. We've got teams in New Hampshire and Maine, and, added teams in Elmira and Rochester and, Danbury. And we've got 10 teams in our division. We've got 5 teams in New England, up from one, us. And, it's a really fun competitive division. Being able to have 10 teams it means that we have 9 different opponents, right? So, when you have a 6-team league or a 5-team division, you're playing over and over again. And we have a really unique situation here in the East that, everybody's bought in, everybody's in it for the right reasons, everybody's competitive. Last year, like I said, we didn't have success, so some other teams didn't. We were not an easy game to play. Like, we were not an easy out. We were hard to play against. We played smart. We played skilled. And ultimately, that's the goal of us for every year. So as 10 years, the level of hockey gets better every single year. This year, our main camp had the most talent that we've ever had. The depth of talent was just, we kids from every league, and every country and from all over the world, and they're all descending there in Canton, Mass, to to hopefully get a crack at the North American Hockey League, and that's something that I don't know if enough coaches appreciate, just how much kids desire to play in our league, which allows us an opportunity to really be selective in who we choose to be on our teams. And that's something that's really exciting and has really continued to develop and continue to grow over 10 years, just like the events. I mean, I don't think there's any group of people than our staff in the NA office that put on a better event, that care more about the players, that care more about the production and the quality, and all of it is done not so we can look shiny and new, but so that we can put a spotlight on the kids that matter, and that's our hockey players, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to give them exposure to their next level.
Absolutely. And as you look ahead for this upcoming season, what are some of those main goals that you have for the Generals?
So our goals, we've added to our staff. So we added Darryl Locke, who was our NA3 head coach for the last 8 years. He's one of the winningest coaches in junior hockey history, and adding him along with Aaron, who's my associate head coach. Like, our goals are to show up every day and work our butt off and make sure our players are, and ultimately what we want and in our division is to finish in that first or second place. Yeah, everybody's goal is the Robertson Cup, but what our real goal is get into that playoff mix, get into the top seed mix, and then be playing our best hockey when the playoffs roll around, and hope you get a hot goaltender, and hope you get some guys that are matured, and your health, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So from a wins and losses standpoint, you want to win a lot more games than you lose, but what you want to do is make sure you're doing that in a way that benefits all the kids on the roster, right? Everybody's playing, everybody's getting opportunities in the power play and the penalty kill, and as you get closer to the end of the season, you start to button up a little bit of that, but our goal is to develop kids. And so our goal from day one, which we start on Thursday, August 21st or 22nd, is that we are going to really instill how hard it is to play in this league to the kids, and really show how we want to start the season, and we want to be able to control the controllable, which is everybody goes in at 0-0, and we have the opportunity to kind of make our destiny, and a lot of times it's the sum of the parts that are bigger than the whole. And for us, that's what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to have that one guy that's going to carry our offensive load. We're going to need to spread out the scoring. We have some really good goaltenders, some incredible captains and returners, and we're really excited about that group. But our goals are just to be playing our best hockey at the end of the year as we head into the playoffs.
Absolutely. And with the season quickly approaching, also comes with the greatest show on ice with the NA Showcase in Blaine, Minnesota. What are you looking forward to most once you're in Blaine with the Northeast Generals?
Well, obviously the atmosphere is unbelievable. The amount of coaches, the amount of scouts, the amount of, just people and eyes that are on them, from fans to Division I to Division III to, USHL to everything is there. And what we look forward to is, one, it's an unbelievable experience. The kids are a little bit in shock, a little bit in awe. And, yes, they've played in front of fans before, but it's the concentration of the amount of scouts. It's how professional the event is. So what you really want to do is really teach the kids, about how to stay present in the moment. Don't make the moment come bigger than you, because, we'll have Ava over here with post-game interviews, and the kids will all be clamoring, hopefully to get some TV time. And, you really want them to go there and understand how professional this league treats them, and then ultimately to treat the game the same way. And, there's just no better league or organization than the NA at putting on events. And that showcase is, it's absolutely rocking, all 4 main rinks. You get staggered. It's exhausting to scout. I mean, it's so fun. And I really, really look forward to, seeing a lot of the coaches that, we just had our coaches meeting. There's a lot of really good relationships with coaches from other divisions. It's our one time to play some crossover games, other than the Robertson Cup. So it's really fun to play some teams that play maybe a division that has a little different style than the East, and really just see kind of how you match up. It's early in the year, absolutely, but you kind of get a good sense of kids that can rise to a moment, or kids that, maybe needs a little bit more time to figure out how to adjust to big moments. And it's a great tool for us to use for that.
Absolutely. And as you reflect on last season, what was one of your favorite memories with the Generals?
I mean, most of my memories are a little bit probably PG-13, and they involve, road trips and bus. And, like I tell kids every day, like, you will very quickly move on from the wins and losses. What you won't ever forget are the friendships and the relationships that you make. And, I remember kids coming in and, coach, I got an offer, and they cry, right? And they're just so emotional. And you go, wow, this big, strong kid that, never shows emotion is here, and he's opening up his heart to you. And he's thanking you, and he's proud. And I have one kid in particular that made a pretty big commitment last year. And, just getting that, being part of that journey, even though you're a small part, is so important. And it's so important to the kids to be reinforced of how special they are, how much you enjoy being around them. And so my memories are, we play in Johnstown every year on New Year's Eve. We've done it, I think, 5 or 6 years in a row. We'll continue to do it. It's one of the best experiences, nothing better than being in small town Pennsylvania on New Year's. But one is you get 4,000 fans there. They pack it. They're very loud. They're very into the game. And a lot of these guys get those opportunities. They walk on the ice in a really, really legitimate arena that, Slapshot was filmed at, and they get on there and they can kind of feel the energy in the building. And that's always a really big highlight for us. So that probably last year was really exciting. And this year will just continue to grow. And, for me, being with these guys and on the road, and the fact that these kids help entrust me to their development is such an honor, and to be able to lead them and to coach them is something I wake up with every day with a big weight on my shoulders of making sure I deliver, and making sure as a staff that we deliver what we promise these kids. And that is an opportunity to laugh, have fun, and get better. And ultimately, we want to make sure kids are not just excited to be generals, excited to be North American Hockey League players, and excited to be on this journey, with all these other incredible kids and coaches.
Absolutely. And to wrap up this interview, and while talking about a little bit of fun, the Generals picked up some social media fame last year. On social media, a lot of eyes were on the Generals. What does it mean to see your organization really pick up steam on social media, and to have so many people know what the logo is and who you all are?
Yeah, it's, Shannon, my social media director, she's unbelievable. And we kind of let her, run her thing. She's younger, she's cooler, she knows a lot more things than I do. I don't know half of the stuff, but I do enjoy the content, and it's funny. We had the one dance video that really blew up, and with Richie Russarito and, a couple other guys. And it was really fun. And it was funny because you had a couple guys, wow, they should be taking the game locked in more. You know what? We're here to have fun and get better at hockey. And we're going to dance, and we're going to have our personalities show through, and we're going to be out there, and we are going to be nothing but ourselves. And we're going to do that before the game. And Shannon's going to capture those moments and really, and I think that's what people resonate to, is the realism that we're showing. We're not showing just the goals and just the highlights. We're showing some of the nonsense that's fun, and that's majority of junior hockey is fun. Yeah, it's a grind, but you have these experiences, and these, the fact that these kids are dancing, and they're mic'd up, and they somehow wrote me into answering questions. I don't know how they do it, because I'm not the type of person that's really going to be super focused on that. But the kids enjoy it, the fans enjoy it, and that one video, we have over 70,000, I think, followers on TikTok, and that's a great thing for us, because as an organizational brand, we have 38 teams underneath our umbrella, and our brand wants to be, fun, and a place that players want to be, because not only are they going to have a good experience, but they're going to get better at hockey. And I think that's what those, little blow-ups of popularity really helped. And we hope to continue to see the Northeast Generals all over social media and really having fun.
Well, Bryan, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. It's been super fun, watching the Northeast Generals do all their fun things on social media, but I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Eva.